Testing, hello, and welcome to my game dev livestream. This is episode 40. Don't want to celebrate this one too much. I got 50 coming up before too long. Anyways, today I'm going to keep working on buttons. I was working on buttons last time, and I got it so that I can check the state if it's pushed down or not. Now, I think the next thing to do is a push down event, so let's get started on that. Let's look at the scene again. We got our character, we got our button, which is a collider, and then we have our button collider script here. Our button collider script has access to a test button data object. So now the first thing is that we want a new scriptable data for the button. I'm gonna create game event. This is gonna be called button push event. And then we're going to go here to our button object class. We're going to this is going to be a lot like what we did for the crumbling platform. I think. What did I do that for? Actually, I may be thinking of the scripts. Oh, the health. That's what I'm thinking of. The death event and the game event here. So it had two game events. Well, we want to have at least one, so we're going to do public game event. This would be called push event. Just like that. Hello, JGP, AGP, BTRF. Thank you for joining. So then when the press function is called, then we will do the push event dot raise. Just like that. Okay. So now when the button collider as the on trigger enter, we're going to do button.press, which is going to raise that event. And then now we need something to listen to that event. And I imagine that we're going to have this quite often. We had to do this for the health. We had a death event. So I'm going to make something that we can, like a prefab that we can use in a number of places. It'll be handy. So I'm going to do add a UI text mesh pro. This would be called event listener text. And text mesh pro put this up towards the top. So this will just say event raised, exclamation point. Auto size that. And then we'll make it pretty big. Hello, MW2 Melvin's dad. Thanks for joining. Start a timer for 25 minutes. We'll do a viewer mini game, then I want to make sure to center this text too, like that. And this will be disabled by default. And then now we're going to add a game event listener. And as a response, it's going to set active to true whenever that event gets raised. And that's going to be our prefab. I'm going to save that in system prefabs. I'm going to call this call this thing event tester. Now I can drag one of these into any scene, and it'll be pretty easy. Anyways, for this one in particular, we wanted to listen to the button push event. So we'll drag that into there. So now if we click start on the scene, see there's no text on the screen. It's not getting called. So let's see what the issue is. Let's go to this and click erase. Okay, I had the wrong thing set up. It was enabling and disabling the whole game event rather than the Text-to-Mesh Pro. Let's try it one more time. No, still not working. What if I just go and do this? That worked. Oh, I didn't give this the push event. Okay. Disable that again. Could have sworn we had this figured out last time. Am I missing something? Hmm. Hello, Julo Spinky. Just struggling with something I thought I had working last time. Pierce is no longer working. Am I okay? I guess. Guess I'm okay. I sound frustrated. Did you hear what I just said? I said I was frustrated. I don't know. Whatever. Get rid of this business. Nothing. It's okay, Julo Spinky. All right, let's test it one more time, just for sanity's sake. So now when we go over the button, this event is raised and we can see that it does in fact work. So that would be the push down event done. Yay. And then we'll do a released event. So back here in the project environment, scriptable data, we're gonna do create game event button release event. And then the button object needs to have a new game event for that. So public game event release event. And then we'll call the raise function here. Whenever a release is called, we call the release event dot raise. So then, I'm not 100% sure that this is allowed, but I'm gonna give the event tester deal another event listener, and I'm gonna have at least listen to the release event. And then gonna go back and disable the text once we go off the button. And then we have to hook up the release event to this. Now we should be good to go. Let's test it out. So it's raised, walk off it, it goes away. Beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop. Cool. That was the release event done. Now, I think that there's a bug here. Which we can probably simulate pretty easily. So we'll walk here. I'm gonna pause it while I set something up. Create a circle. Put this here. Give this a rigid body 2D and a circle collider. Okay, so now watch. The circle will go into the button and then should fall away, which causes it to turn off this text, even though my character is still on top of the button. So let's try it. Oh, it actually didn't work because this thing is not in the player layer, which is intentional. Like, that's why I did that. But there is actually, I think, a case where you know, if the player has more than one collider, like maybe a collider for a weapon or something like that, I can see some reason why the player might have more than one collider, and anyways, I'll still fix the bug. But if I label this player, you'll see what happens. Whoa. Kept its velocity, I guess. Okay, so when the circle went out of there, it turned it off, even though the player's still in here. So that was a roundabout way to show the bug, but basically, we call the press every time that there's a trigger enter, and we call release every time there's a trigger exit. But what we should be doing is we should check its current state. So if button object dot is pressed, not that, then we'll press it. And then in this case, if the button is pressed, then we can release it. That's how we'll do that. I'm not going to test the whole thing with the circle again, but if the event still works, pretty confident we're good. Yep. Next, I want to do API to return push count. That one seems pretty easy. Oh, that means it's time to do a viewer minigame. This time we'll do guess the number. Let's guess a number 1 through 20, okay? Go ahead and put your guess into the chat right now, and then I'll roll a virtual die to see what the result will be. I'll give you about a minute to put your number into chat. Okay. MW2 Melvin's dad says 17, which was your last guess. And Drewless Pinky says 11. Let's see who is right. Do roll D20. 3. Seems to be rolling mostly low here. Should have gone for a lower number this time. MW2 Melvin's dad. Drewless Pinky wins this time. Okay. You can't say if it's rigged if you're gonna make the same guess as last time. That means you don't believe in it enough. So the story I'm gonna work on now is API to return a push count. Yeah, but if you had guessed your birth month, you would have gotten that right. So. Do a public int push count private set. And then every time we get a press, I will increase the push count. Simple as that. So let's get the test button data locked up here. We're gonna need to add that to our editor so it shows up, because it's private setter. So say, call this one total push count. Now get the button push count. And so it shows that is 0. Now we'll see an interesting behavior here. So I go step on it. It increases to 1. I step away from it. It's still 1, but is pressed is back to false now. I do it again. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Look, now it's 7. So I stop the scene. Right? The scene is no longer running. The character is not responding to gravity, not responding to button presses or anything like that. I restart the scene. And the push count, the total push count, persists at 7. I step on it again. It's now up to 8. So the interesting bit we see here is that the total push count in a scriptable object, something like this is going to persist across the game stopping and starting. It's like its own save system. Now that might cause some problems for certain kinds of scriptable data, so we should probably figure out a way around that at some point. Maybe Unity scriptable objects. Let's check out the API. So we have things like awake. This function is called when the scriptable object script is started. We have things like reset. So awake. So awake is called as the scriptable object script starts. This happens as the game is launched and is similar to monobehavior.awake. And we have one that's on scriptable object and one that's on monobehavior. So this is interesting. This one creates a scriptable object instance. That might be useful in the future. Anyways, let's make use of this awake function. There's also a reset. Reset is called when the user hits the reset button in the inspector's context menu or when adding the component the first time. This function is only called in editor mode. Reset is most commonly used to give good default values in the inspector. Let's focus on the awake. Okay. What do we want here? Well, I think it'd be nice to keep the push count persistent until we find a reason that we don't want that. However, there is a bug here. Let's try something. So right now is pressed is false. If I go and I step on the button, it is now true. I stop the game, it stays true. And when I click play, the game is now running and that field is still true. It still says it's pressed, even though my character is over here not pressing it. That's problematic, right? That is a bug. So on awake, we definitely want to set is pressed equal to false. And we're not going to call the release function because we don't want to trigger any events that think we're actually releasing. This is setting back to a default good state when we restart the game. So So now why didn't that get called? Unity scriptable object awake is not called. Solved but unhappy. Uh-oh. In the reproduction steps, you define the awake method on the child class, but when you create a scriptable object in the normal script, you're creating a scriptable object of the base class which doesn't have an awake method, therefore no awake method gets called. Okay. So this awake function doesn't work unless you instantiate it. Just like that. Well, okay, that bug's just gonna live then. There's no way around that right now. I'm not gonna work on it, so. Anyways, we have an API to return the push count now. Right, we just call that, well, it's public. It's a public getter, so we just get it. So it's fine. Gonna delete this stuff because it doesn't do what I want it to do. I'll call that one done. Making pretty good progress here. I don't know why this got all jacked up, but it should be going from here, burning down. And I think we're pretty much on track. Yeah. Although that doesn't seem quite right. It says I have 20 points left in this sprint. What is even in this sprint? Got, let's see. 2, 5, 10, 13, 18. Maybe it's counting the epics as well. Okay. So today's accomplishments, I set up button event for pushing and releasing, made a test object for testing listening to events, learned that scriptable objects get awake called when they are created. Next time push down timer. We'll do that next time. Okay. Thank you for watching. If you're watching this live, if you're watching this on YouTube, hello, this is the past. Hello, future. Please, for my future, your present sake, leave a like and a comment if you have something to add. Do a subscribe if you want to see more of this stuff. Probably this weekend I'm going to work on making another tutorial. Having some friends visit, so I think probably won't be published on Sunday, but rather Monday. I have Monday off for President's Day, so I plan to do some good long game development that day. Anyways, come check out the stream then. As always, have a nice night. Thank you. I say different things every time. Maybe not as always, but thanks and have a nice night.